You can systemize a lot of things, reminders, but you can't systemize our sincere appreciation for people. Guess what? They're 3 times more likely to be disengaged and 2 times more likely to leave our teams, to leave our organizations within 12 months. So, care cannot be systemized. You can systemize a lot of things, reminders, but you can't systemize our sincere appreciation for people. We even automate birthday messages nowadays. Facebook reminds us of birthdays, right? And then what happens? We click that AI button that gives a reply of happy birthday and puts all the birthday emojis. That's not genuine recognition. You can schedule your check-ins, but you cannot schedule your presence. So showing up. I have a leader that I coach and I mentor, and one of our big things on his to-do list was to schedule these check-ins. He automated them, he set them up as reminders, but he continually cancels them. And we'll talk a little bit about that impact. And then the moment that our team sense automation in our care, it stops being care. So the dangerous logic that I hear a lot of leaders out there say, and this is something that I've caught myself in as well, is, oh, they'll understand. Leaders, we assume that our teams know we still care even when our behavior changes. Things like, I'm busy building the systems that help everyone. It sounds really good. It feels noble, but our teams, they experience our absence. And the intent, it just doesn't land. Our behavior does. I want to share some research with you because MIT Sloan research finds that employees who feel their manager is digitally distant, guess what? They're 3 times more likely to be disengaged and 2 times more likely to leave our teams, to leave our organizations within 12 months. So an example here recently is I worked with the senior leader of an organization last year who was very proud of themselves in the new system that they created. He automated weekly updates. He created these self-service dashboards so people, they could go in and get the answers right without waiting. He built these AI-powered recognition bots, and they would send kudos when certain metrics or goals were hit in the organization. And when I began to really dig deeper and talk to his team, a lot of the feedback that I heard was, well, we just never see him anymore. We're performing, right? But we feel like we're performing for a machine. So here's the sad part, because he thought he was freeing himself up for the strategic work. However, his team experienced abandonment. And again, we use this lie of efficiency. So here's the gut check for you, right? I want you to think about the last meaningful interaction that you had with each person on your team. Not a Slack message, not an IM, not a text, not a dashboard review, a real human moment. And if you can't remember, we've got some work to do. So how do you know? How do you know if you've crossed that line? That's what we're going to cover next. The warning signs that you're automating care and you might not even realize it. So one of the things, how do we know if we've gone too far? I think that's the big question here. Well, we know we've gone too far when our team starts bringing us problems. When the team begins to feel like they're a ticket in a ticket system, they stop being vulnerable. They stop bringing us problems or challenges or concerns before they happen. If issues only surface in those formal reviews or the exit interviews that we have, some of us don't even have those anymore. We send a survey, an automated survey. We've lost the informal trust. And silence, guess what, leaders? It isn't compliance. It's disengagement. The second thing where we know we've crossed the line is recognition begins to feel hollow. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking to them, to your team. AI generated praise, it lands flat because people can sense the difference. Great job on a Q4 means nothing if you can't name exactly what was great about it. Kind of goes back to those AI generated Facebook birthday messages, right? Specificity signals attention. Generic is going to signal automation. So make sure that we're genuine, that we really know what the person did. Be very specific in that feedback and that appreciation. The third thing, just a quick pause in our episode. This might be exactly what you need to hear. If you're currently leading a team or you want to lead a team and you're spending your days putting out fires, you're not failing, you're just stuck. Because when everything feels urgent, nothing actually improves. And over time, that starts to chip away at our confidence as a leader. I've led teams under pressure for years, and firefighting isn't about effort, it's about those missing leadership systems. When expectations are clear and ownership is real, our teams, they stop reacting and they start solving problems without us. So if you're ready to lead instead of react, click on the link below, book a call, check out our consulting programs. All right, back to the episode. The third thing that we know when we cross the line is we know our metrics better than we know our people. Now, you can quote performance data, but you can't name somebody's career goals. That's a big red flag for some. And if it's not, you got to look yourself in the mirror sometimes. The other thing here is we're monitoring activity instead of mentoring professional development, growth opportunities. And our dashboards, they begin to become the substitute for our meaningful conversations. The fourth way that we've known we've gone too far, we've crossed that line, is feedback begins to go only one way. Those automated systems that push out information, they don't pull back understanding. If you're sending more than you're asking, our relationships, they're deteriorating. Leadership isn't about broadcasting. It's about having this dialogue. It's relational. It's relationship building. So what are some warning signs? And I've put these into a checklist formula. And I wrote them down because this is important for us. These things, between the warning signs, what they physically look like, and what it means to your team, are very important. So let's talk about the first one. Your team starts bringing those problems, right? So what does that look like? We hear about issues late, or we hear about them secondhand from somebody else. Well, what that means is trust has eroded in our groups. We're no longer the safe person to bring that information to. The second warning sign was recognition just quits landing. What it looks like is people say thanks, but they don't really seem energized about it, right? And normally this means that they sense it's automated or it's obligatory, and they begin to pull away. That third warning sign, you're data rich, but your people poor. We know the numbers, but not the names behind who's achieving those numbers, the goals, or who has those concerns in our organization. And we've replaced the connection with just monitoring these dashboards. And the last one, feedback, it begins to become one directional. So lots of updates going out, but really we're pulling in few insights. We're broadcasting, we're not leading. Again, Gallup research shows that employees who feel ignored by their frontline managers, direct supervisors, they're 2 times more likely to be actively disengaged than those who receive, and this is the kicker here, who even receive negative attention. Now, if that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what will be. So, I want you to pick one person on your team this week, ideally someone that you haven't had a real conversation with recently. Reach out with zero agenda, no task, no update needed. Just ask this question: how are you really doing? And then listen. Don't fix it. Don't advise. Just be present. That's all. And then watch and listen how they respond. So now that you know the warning signs, the question becomes, what do I automate and what do I protect? So let me give you a framework for this. I call it the human first framework. Knowing when to automate tasks and knowing when to protect relationships. So really, for me, the golden rule of automation is I normally will recommend or automate anything that doesn't require emotional intelligence. I will then protect anything that involves trust, vulnerability, recognition, or having that difficult conversation. And anytime that I'm in doubt, anytime I'm like on the fence, it's a 50-50 shot, right? I stay human. So let's quickly talk about some examples. When to automate versus when to protect. Things that are safe to automate. Data collection and reporting. Automate all day long. Things to protect are items like giving feedback. You never want to send an automated email for a performance review. Things that are safe to automate, scheduling and calendar management. I have ChatGPT tied right into my Google calendaring. Guess what? I talk into my phone. It sets up a calendar invite, sets up a recurring invite. I use Calendly to, work with on the consulting side of the house. Automate those things. Things that we want to protect are recognition and praise. It's important for that to be sincere. When people begin to feel like you're just saying thank you to say thank you, or kind of in the morning when you're passing somebody, hey, how are you doing? Do you really want to stand there and listen to how somebody is doing? That's what I'm talking about, right? We do it without AI, but it's one of those things that with AI, especially if our teams know that we're using AI, now that becomes the scapegoat. AI becomes the scapegoat. So other things that I would say are safe to automate: routine status updates, things like informational retrieval. I told you I got ChatGPT connected to my Google Drives. It pulls in information. It goes out and gets things. Task reminders. Heck, I got so many different automated task reminders. It's constantly buzzing me, whether it's my smartwatch or it's on my iPhone or it's on my MacBook, whatever those look like. Process documentation. I will be the first to tell you, I do not enjoy documenting processes. Does it need to be done? Absolutely. Go ahead and automate that. Meeting transcripts and summaries. I've gotten to the point where I used to have somebody take minutes for the meetings. Guess what? Not anymore. We simply put the transcript automator on. Guess what? It records everything and it does a really, really good job. Actions, meeting minutes, we approve them and they go into record. And then first draft for content creation. Now, this is something I know a lot of you out there are like, but it's not me. Guess what? You train AI to think and speak like you. So it may not be your exact words that you would use that first week, 2 weeks, but give it a month, give it 2 months, depending on how often you use AI, and it will begin to look and feel like your words. So what do we want to protect? Difficult news or changes. We always want to deliver that in person. Again, the human side. Celebration and milestones. Going back to the happy birthday message that, you click on AI, the generated response, and send them in Facebook. Come on, right? Send a personalized text. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know, hopefully that they've had a great day. And another revolution around the sun. We got to celebrate our birthdays. The one-on-one conversations. Don't automate those. You can schedule them. But again, I don't even take notes during my one-on-ones. It makes people kind of eerie to tell me things. So I remove all barriers and we have a conversation. And then checking in during those hard times. And this one, I will tell you, I've gotten better at is I have teams that are spread across the world globally. So when there's weather events, if I know that there may be upcoming health, events, surgeries, or maybe somebody's sick, just a simple, hey, I'm thinking about you, or hey, how are things going, goes a long way. So next, I'm going to share with you, and I don't share these a lot. These are the 3 question filters before I automate anything that's people facing. So again, ask yourself, question number 1, does this require reading the room? If yes, don't automate it. Question number 2, would I want to receive this myself, you as the leader, as an automated message? If no, it shouldn't be automated. And then the last one, could this make someone feel like a number? If the answer to that question is yes, do not automate that. Those 3 simple questions have saved me a lot of people just really culturally in organizations, and I teach those to the leaders that I coach and I mentor, and it's saved them a lot of issues. I can promise that. So those 3 questions, big upside to them. So how do we know, though, when AI can enhance human moments, right? But we don't want them to necessarily be replaced. I use AI to prep for one-on-one conversations. They may come in the form of research. It may come in the form of maybe bringing in notes from previous meetings, team meetings, action items, right? I'll tell it to organize a one-on-one meeting or organize 3 or 4 bullet talking points, reminders. What that does is it allows me to show it fully and present to the one-on-one conversations. I use AI to draft, and then I'm able to personalize my own voice and specific details. So I will ask it to draft maybe a performance conversation using self-assessment data, my data that I bring in, put it all together, and then I go through and I personalize it in my voice and I add in those specific details. I also use AI to save time on tasks that I can reinvest that time back into people. I don't become absent. That time I spend with my door open. I mean, I spend a tremendous amount of time with conversations from people just walking past my door or knocking on my door and asking if I have a minute. That's freed up. AI has allowed me to free up those tasks so I don't have my door closed all the time when I need to hyper focus on a task. There are still times when I do that, but because of the AI integration, it's allowed me to free that calendar up to where I can do a lot more of that relational, those conversations. That's where the rubber meets the road. So some things here before. Maybe a bot would send that happy birthday message, going back to Facebook, right? But what happens now for me is AI reminds me, and then I send a personal note, or I fill out a thank you card if they're in the office, or I'll send a $5, $10 Starbucks card, right? That goes a long way. Before, there were things like automated surveys that would ask for feedback. Now, I bring people in during my one-on-ones, or after a meeting, I'll do a quick little debrief, or I call them tag ups, weekly or bi-weekly tag ups, where I ask them directly, like, what's one thing I could do better as a leader? How could I serve you better? Goes a long way. Things that I used to do, dashboards. Dashboards, they show maybe somebody or a department is underperforming. So I use AI to help flag that for me, but then I have to go have that difficult conversation to understand, to get curious here about what's happening, right? What I used to do also was I send weekly team updates. AI would help me do that. Well, now I've gotten to the point where I've taught AI. It drafts it for me, but I add the personal note acknowledging a specific win or challenge that the team just accomplished. So some research here from the Center for Creative Leadership. What this shows is it shows leaders who combine the technological efficiency with high-touch relationship practices, they see 40% higher team performance than leaders who rely either on one approach alone. Now, if you can increase performance by 40%, I don't know about you, that has my attention, right? So here's your action step. Take out a piece of paper. I got a journal right here. Or open up the notes app on your phone, right? I want you to draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, you're going to write automate. On the right-hand side, you're going to write protect. Now list every leadership activity that you do regularly, okay? And put each one in the right column using the 3-question filter I just gave you. This is your human first map. So I want you to live by it. You know, we've talked about a lot today, and if you've stuck through to the end, thank you. Let's bring this all together for you, okay? So we're going to recap what we've covered today. First, efficiency, it can become the excuse for absence. But when we begin to automate care, we think we're being productive, but our teams, their experience is, whoa, hey, John's abandoning us, right? Second, they're warning signs. When people start bringing you problems, when recognition just starts landing flat, when you know the dashboards better than you know your own people, you've crossed the line. And then third, use the human first framework. Automate tasks freely, protect those relationships with ferocity, and then use AI to enhance our human moments, not to replace them. Let's land this thing. Here's what I want you to take away and remember today. Care, it's not a task to be optimized. It's the foundation trust is built on. So automate your tasks, never automate your presence. In a world where AI, it can do more and more, the leaders who win will be the ones who stay relentlessly human. Protect that with everything, not because it's efficient, but because it's irreplaceable. So if this episode challenged you, that means it's working. So here's what I want you to do. One, I want you to share this with your leadership team. Start a conversation about where you've drawn that line yourself, the line between automation and care in your organization. Two, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel. Only about 40% of our listeners currently are subscribed if you already haven't. We're deep in this AI series this month about how leading with AI without losing the human touch benefits you as a leader. And I don't want you to miss anything that's coming up. And then three, leave a comment. Tell me, what's one thing that you've committed to never automate in your leadership? I want to hear, what are your non-negotiables? Until next time, I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to you on the next episode. Bye-bye.